Pet Battles in World of Warcraft is a minigame system which is definitely the largest minigame system they have within the game, which rightfully fits into the category of being a game within a game. Pet Battles is kind of like Pokemon to an extent, where each creature has 3 moves they can choose from, and there's a rock, paper, scissors mechanic of types doing extra damage against certain types, and doing less damage against others. And ever since its introduction to Mists of Pandaria, they have added tons and tons of pet battle content, where there's over thousands of pets to collect, and lots of solo challenges to throw those pets against. So from a collector's point of view, and a PvE pet battler's point of view, the point of pet battles seems pretty clear. You collect new pets, you level them to the max of 25, then you can take them into the exciting solo content like the Celestial Tournament, the legendary pet tamers, and even clear all of the pet battle dungeons. And all of this is actually a lot of fun, the first time you do it. And that's kind of the main point of this video. After you've completed all of the PvE pet battle content and farmed them enough times to collect all of the rewards, there's nothing else to do. There's plenty of PvE content that was added to the game over the years, and they usually make sure the reward structures are done in a way where you have to complete the content multiple times in order to get everything from it. But the updates for those are more sparse than WoW adding new raids to the game, and they're much quicker to complete. To the point where, if you're a long-time pet battle fan, there isn't really anything for you to do with your pet battle pets. The hardest form of pet battle content in the PvE sense is known as the Celestial Tournament. You're only allowed to do Celestial Tournament 1 time a week, and it requires you to fight 3 legendary tamers, full of teams with legendary pets, where you have to defeat all the 3 tamers without being able to heal your pets outside of battle. Then, after you defeat the 3 tamers, you have to defeat 4 legendary boss pets back to back, under the same conditions. And the Celestial Tournament is so hard, they don't even let you enter unless you have at least 15 max level pets. And it's definitely the penultimate pet battle challenge. Completing the Celestial Tournament proves that you have a mountain of pets to throw against the challenge, or you were good enough to prepare for it beforehand, seeing as the 3 first legendary pet tamers change out every week. So you can't just have one team that counters the whole Celestial Tournament every time, but you can have a collection of teams that counters all the different forms of Celestial Tournament eventually. However, even though the Celestial Tournament is pretty great as a form of pet battle content, and is the last hurrah for people who do pet battles in order to test their pet battling skills, this was released 8 years ago in patch 5.4. The hardest form of pet battle content was released during the expansion which introduced pet battles, and we haven't gotten anything like the Celestial Tournament since. Some may argue that the pet battle dungeons on the heroic modes could be just as challenging as the Celestial Tournament, although the distinction is just as challenging as the Celestial Tournament, because the Celestial Tournament is still the penultimate pet battle challenge in the game. You compare hard forms of PvE pet battle content to the Celestial Tournament, and the fact that we haven't gotten anything harder than that since Mists of Pandaria is kind of a problem. Whenever Blizzard does release new PvE pet battle content, there will be a ton of people complaining that Blizzard is wasting their time developing this, instead of working on some new raid or battleground or whatever, and I'm happy to tell you that's probably not something to concern yourself with because of how infrequently they actually create new battle pet PvE content. Every new expansion, they'll add a whole bunch of new world tamers to the game that you can fight in order to gain rewards or complete daily quests ever since Legion. But these tamers are all easier than the max level tamers added from Mists of Pandaria. You know, when pet battles launched, with almost no exceptions. In fact, most of them are so easy that they barely give you any experience when you actually fight them, because Blizzard knows people would farm them to level pets because of how brain dead easy they are. So to this day, it's still a completely viable way to level up your pets by just completing a circuit of the Mists of Pandaria tamers, instead of doing pet battles from the current content tamers. Sure, they add a whole bunch of new tamers every expansion, but they're not challenging, they don't give meaningful rewards, and they're not really meant to. The first time they added some new challenging content to pet battles was the pet battle dungeons added in Legion, where there's an easy mode you can complete first, and then a heroic mode where you go in and try to complete the whole instance without healing your pets outside of combat, just like the Celestial Tournament. And the pet battle dungeons were an excellent breath of fresh air, and some of the heroic modes even match the difficulty of the Celestial Tournament to an extent, which can only be a good thing. There's only 5 pet battle dungeons total, and farming each one of them on their hardest difficulty does require you to have a pretty hefty amount of max level different kinds of pets. Although, eventually, you can complete the heroic modes enough times to get all the pets that are available from going through those dungeons, and you can also eventually complete the Celestial Tournament to get all of its rewards too. And then once you're done with all the rewards from the Celestial Tournament and the Pet Battle Dungeons, that's kind of it. You've completed the Pet Battle game. There's nothing else to do except wait for the next Pet Battle Dungeon, which you'll be able to complete in the first hour it's available when it launches because they're so easy. And then you're just kind of waiting around for the next one, and they haven't released a new one since BFA. The Pet Battle's main target audience are collectors and World of Warcraft players who are new to Pet Battles. Blizzard always releases new pets. With pretty much every content update, they put out a whole bunch of new pets to collect. Introducing new pets to the game is the only thing Blizzard has consistently added to Pet Battles. So if you're a collector of pets, then the game is obviously catered towards you, just like collecting everything else. Since collectors in the game tend to be casual players, so there tends to be a lot of them, and casual players make up the larger portion of any game's player base. If you're new to Pet Battles, then boy, do you have a ton of content waiting for you, because they have never raised the max level on pets. So, all max level content from every single expansion is still viable max level content for Pet Battles to this day. Someone who gets into Pet Battles today will have a hard time defeating the Celestial Tournament, for example, even though it was added 8 years ago. However, if you ever want to do something with the collected pets, and you're not new to Pet Battles, well, that's too bad because there isn't really any content for you after you've completed the tournament in the 5 Pet Battle dungeons. You see, there technically is a system of PvP Pet Battles in the game, where through your Pet Battle Collection tab, you're able to hit a button to find a random PvP game. However, they have done absolutely nothing to update the PvP Pet Battle system since its first introduction at the beginning of Mists of Pandaria 9 years ago. It's still the same system of just pushing the button from your collection tab, where you're randomly matched with whoever clicked the button at around the same time as you, with no filter to who might be an experienced player or a new player or anything. You simply match against people who might have clicked the button at around the same time as you, and that's it. So it's entirely possible to just go against the same person 10 times in a row if no one else is clicking that button, which is a very common occurrence in modern Pet Battles, outside of a few incentives that Blizzard has tried to get people to push that button. Blizzard has a grand total of 4 incentives to do PvP Pet Battles. One of them is to get the achievement for winning 1,000 times, which grants you the trainer title and a Direhorn pet. And then they have a vanity achievement for winning 5,000 Pet Battles, which doesn't really grant you any rewards, so most people stop at the 1,000 achievement. The next incentive is to win 10 times for a weekly Pet Battle stone and some Pet Battle food, which can upgrade the rarity of your pet and also allow you to level them faster. The third incentive is the Pet Battle bonus event, which comes around every couple of months and gives you a weekly quest to win 5 PvP Pet Battles. And lastly is the Family Brawler achievement, which was added in Legion and gives you a reward if you're able to win 10 PvP games with a team of only one type of pet, and for every single type of pet. So, trying to win 10 matches with only magic type pets in your team, for example, and then repeating the process for every other type in the game. So, that sounds like a lot of incentives. However, most longtime Pet Battle fans already have the 1K achievement because we've had 9 years to try for it. The weekly Pet Battle stones and food you get from Pandaria weekly quests are outdated because they can be gotten much faster through just doing world quests, so no one bothers to do those anymore. The weekly bonus event is the only week in which PvP Pet Battle queues are thriving, and the Family Brawler achievement was hated by pretty much everyone because PvP Pet Battles are not balanced around having a full team of one type of pet. Nobody liked actually having to try to grind out those 10 wins with 3 humanoids, and it just made for some easy wins if you were playing a well-balanced team and queuing for fun and you happened to run across someone else who was trying to grind for this achievement. So out of all of the incentives, the Pet Battle bonus event is the only one that actually works and gets a whole bunch of new people to try them out. And all that does is grant 1 stone, which increases 1 pet to max level immediately, which is also not that good of a reward. You can also get these stones much easier by just doing world quests for the charms. So, outside of the Pet Battle bonus event, if you decide to queue up for a random PvP Pet Battle, chances are you're going to run against someone who's trying to grind out their 1,000 wins or 5,000 win achievement, and it's just playing one of the best teams in the game in order to blow out your team as fast as possible, or playing a team which has its pets named win trading. And then there's a chance you'll just go against that same guy 10 times in a row because no one else is queuing up. So, PvP Pet Battles aren't really a thing, which is a shame because they used to have a healthy amount of participation back in Mists of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor, when Pet Battles were still new and all the veteran players didn't have the 1,000 or 5,000 win achievement yet. You could realistically queue up for Pet Battles whenever you want and get a wide variety of different players. I used to have a Pet Battle channel dedicated to PvP Pet Battles during this time period, where I would showcase all kinds of different teams that would try to compete against whatever people were using at the time. However, after Warlords of Draenor, participation in PvP pet battles kind of dropped into the ground. If I wanted to record some matches to showcase a new team, I'd have to sit in queue for 10 minutes before getting a battle, where usually I'd go against someone who was playing the best team for that meta, or some new player who didn't even have max level pets yet. And if I didn't have to wait 5 to 10 minutes in queue, which I should mention is very long compared to Mr. Pandaria or WoD where I only had to wait like 10 seconds, then I would just be playing against the same person over and over because no one else was queuing up. It got so bad to the point where I was only recording videos during the pet battle bonus event, where I could actually get different teams to play against. It's not that I couldn't beat the best teams in the game, it's actually quite easy to beat those teams if you just play a counter team. But I'm not trying to showcase counter teams to the best possible meta teams, I wanted to showcase a whole bunch of different kinds of combos, which was just no longer possible. So eventually I quit the channel because it was no longer possible to get footage because of how dead PvP was. And when it comes to balancing PvP pet battles, Blizzard does all of one balancing pass every 2 years, when a new expansion is about to drop. Every expansion, at the tail end of it, they'll go through and compile all of the problem pets that have been plaguing the meta for the past 2 years, and then adjust them with well-deserved nerfs, then release brand new broken pets immediately upon the next expansion's launch. For example, the Unborn Valkyrie was one of the most used and powerful pets in PvP pet battles, so it rightly received a nerf at the end of Mr. Pandaria, and then was nerfed again in the next 2 expansions because they didn't hit it hard enough. Graves was one of the undisputed kings of PvP pet battles in Warlords of Draenor, so it received super nerfs at the end of the expansion to just completely readjust everything about it. Then they gave a similar treatment to the Terraclaw Hatchling at the end of Legion, since it was the de facto best pet in PvP meta because of an overpowered skill combination. In BFA, one of the most overpowered pets in the game was the Hermit Crab, simply because it had a decent move stat with overinflated stats. It just straight up had more stats than a normal pet should have, which seems like an obvious oversight on the developer's part. A bug even, because no other pet in the game had as much stats as the Hermit Crab did. So they promptly changed its overpowered stat line at the end of the expansion before Shadowlands came out, finally realizing their mistake. Although, they don't nerf everything that's overpowered, because Sunlight teams still exist. So for PvE pet battles, their intended target audience for them is new players, and that's it. And for PvP pet battles, I don't think they have a target audience at all, and have just completely abandoned the whole system altogether. So, if there's nothing for veteran players to do in PvE pet battles, and they don't do anything with PvP pet battles, what exactly is the point of pet battles? If you were to compare current pet battles to normal World of Warcraft, it would be like if there was a maximum item level you can obtain on your gear, but no content to actually use that high item level piece of equipment against. Imagine having mythic level gear and only being able to infinitely run normal dungeons, which don't reward you anything of meaning or challenge you in any way. Plus, you only have 5 of them to do total, which you could finish on your first try as soon as they came out. Or a PvP system where you're always getting stomped by the best players in the world, or destroying brand new players with almost nothing in between, because they don't have any kind of brackets. Many people would probably stop playing World of Warcraft pretty quickly if there was no form of progression, and that's kind of how pet battles work currently. Okay, so what could Blizzard do to fix this? I could say that it's not my job to think of alternative ideas, but I can think of a couple of ways they could add end-game pet battle content without having to create brand new assets. First, let's go over PvP. PvP could be solved very simply by just adding a ranked mode. The ranked mode they use for WoW PvP probably wouldn't work super well with pet battles, although it would still be better than nothing that currently exists. Instead, they could borrow from how card games usually handle a ranked mode, where there's just a highest rank you can achieve for each month, and then the ladder gets reset at the end of every month and hands out rewards for hitting a high rank. Blizzard already has this with Hearthstone, and many other card games follow suit. This way, people who are new to the ranked mode will only go against other people who are new, and veteran players will start out at a higher rank than everyone else and just be facing against each other trying to hit the top rank every month. Blizzard already hands out pet battle rewards like candy, and regularly adds new pet battle collection content, so adding rewards to a monthly ranking system doesn't seem like it would be super hard on their part. Alternatively, they could just add a meaningless ranked point system like they do for Hearthstone Battlegrounds. When Hearthstone Battlegrounds first launched, there was absolutely no rewards for getting a high rank in that game mode, and it was one of the most popular game modes in Hearthstone. People would play non-stop all the time, every day grinding rank, even though there was no reason for it. Sometimes, people just like to see pretty numbers go big. For PvE pet battles, I would suggest a battle tower-like scenario. Similar to pet battle dungeons, they create a tower with like 100 floors to climb. Each floor itself is a pet battle dungeon. and the layout of each floor could be kind of like Torghast, where it's semi-random. The battle tower would not allow you to heal your pets, and each room would have a couple of trash pets, some medium fights, and maybe even a couple of boss fights, to try to vary up the kinds of encounters you're facing. And the best way to climb the battle tower would just be to have an army of pets to throw at it. Currently, I have almost 800 max level pets. I know many people who have even higher numbers than that, so a battle tower-like scenario, where you're just climbing a whole bunch of floors by just throwing armies of pets at them, would obviously not be very good for a new player to pet battles, but would definitely be good for players like me who have invested in the game for a very long time, and want something to throw their army of max level pets at. Plus, the current game is already catered to new players, so it's not like they need the mode to be catered to them as well. Now, the details of the battle tower could be done in all kinds of ways. Each room could be randomly generated with enemies you face. There could be a theme every floor, like only critters or elemental pets. Maybe even have a way to save your progress so you don't have to climb all 100 floors in one sitting. Maybe have your progress reset every month so that you can try to climb every month for different kinds of rewards. There could be 10 floors you climb you face against a hard boss, which might require tons of your pets to throw at it before you can beat it, with the boss battle that doesn't actually heal up at the end of every fight. So you're incentivized to fight it like a raid boss, where you're just trying to do as much damage to it as possible before your pets eventually get taken out. And you have to fight the boss multiple times in order to chip away at its health all the way down to 0. Alternatively, for PvE, they could just have big raid boss fights tied to your guild. This could be similar to the battle tower-like scenario, except it's only a boss rush, where every room you unlock is just a boss that has a ton of health that you have to chip away at. Everyone in your guild is allowed to participate in fighting the boss, and whoever deals the most amount of damage to the boss gets an extra reward at the end of it. But you're only allowed a limited amount of attempts per day, and locked to something like 15 rounds of combat, so that you don't just endlessly heal and do a minor amount of damage over the course of 500 turns. They could also split this into a guild and solo mode, where you only have 4 tries per day in the guild mode, but unlimited tries in the solo mode, similar to the battle tower idea, except only fighting bosses. This would add hard PvE content, or at least something to throw an army of pets at, and have a way to do it with other players without them just being random players, i.e. tied to your guild. These 2 ideas I got from some gacha mobile games I used to play in the past, and I think they could be easily converted into pet battles. So, my wish for pet battles would be to 1. Add harder PvE content, and 2. Create any kind of ranking system for PvP pet battles. Blizzard obviously does care about pet battles to an extent because of just how many new ones they add to the game all the time. But if you want to do anything besides just collecting them as a veteran player, you're lucky to get even 1 new piece of content every new expansion. Or nothing with Shadowlands, since they didn't even add a new pet battle dungeon, and specifically said they had no plans to either at the beginning of the expansion.